Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's February 5th, 2024. We are in the Old Testament book of 2nd Chronicles, and we're going to read chapter 9 today. Queen of Sheba is going to show up. So Solomon, our chronicler wants us to see the grandeur that was Solomon and his temple. People from all over would come. Queen of Sheba came, paid respects to Solomon because of his great wisdom, and came away impressed. And that's what the chronicler wants these exiles that are coming out of Persia to see. Hey, we're attached to that. Okay, that was obedience. That's what we had with obedience. Then we were disobedient. We got sent into exile. We've been called back to our land, and if we're obedient again, well, greatness will come back to us, because we are God's people. Well, the Jews that he's writing to. As Gentiles, we're God's people, but we came through Christ. And he concludes with Solomon's death, and we're going to go into Rehoboam. Now, you might be saying, hey, wait a minute, there was all kinds of stuff that Solomon did that was good and bad, and lots of bad that we're skipping over. Yes, our chronicler is not trying to give us a list of the sins, and he's not trying to hide them, though. He points out, hey, you want to know what's happened, you can go read this book over here, which is probably 2 Kings. So he's not talking about that, because that's not what he's trying to do. Again, he's trying to encourage these exiles who are returning to get right with God, and to see that, hey, you know what? When we were right with God, blessings. When we were on the wrong side of that, we got cursings. So let's go ahead, and we're going to read 2 Chronicles chapter 9. Now when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to Jerusalem to test Solomon with hard questions, having a very great retinue, camels that bore spices, gold in abundance, and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. So Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing so difficult for Solomon that he could not explain it to her. And when the queen of Sheba had seen the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his servants, the service of his waiters and their apparel, his cupbearers and their apparel, and his entryway by which he went up to the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. Then she said to the king, it was a true report which I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom. However, I did not believe their words until I came and saw with my own eyes. And indeed, the half of the greatness of your wisdom was not told me. You exceed the fame of which I heard. Happy are your men, and happy are these your servants, who stand continually before you and hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you, setting you on his throne to be king for the Lord your God. Because your God has loved Israel to establish them forever, therefore he made you king over them to do justice and righteousness. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, spices in great abundance, and precious stones. There never were any spices such as those the queen of Sheba gave to the king of Solomon. Also the servants of Hiram and the servants of Solomon who brought gold from Ophir brought algum wood and precious stones. And the king made walkways of the algum wood for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house, and also harps and stringed instruments for singers, and there were none such as these seen before in the land of Judah. Now King Solomon gave to the queen of Sheba all she desired, whatever she asked, much more than she had brought to the king. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. The weight of the gold that came to Solomon yearly was 666 talents of gold, besides what the traveling merchants and traders brought. And all the kings of Arabia and the governors of the country brought gold and silver to Solomon. And King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 600 shekels of hammered gold went into each shield. He also made 300 shields of hammered gold. 300 shekels of gold went into each shield. The king put them into the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with pure gold. The throne had 6 steps with a footstool of gold, which were fastened to the throne. There were armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there, one on each side of the 6 steps. Nothing like this had been made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Not one was silver, for this was accounted as nothing in the days of Solomon. For the king's ships went to Tarshish with servants of Hiram. Once every 3 years the merchant ships came, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and monkeys. King Solomon surpassed all the kings of the earth in riches and wisdom. And all the kings of the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. Each man brought his present, articles of silver and gold, garments, armor, spices, horses, and mules, a set rate year by year. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for horses and chariots, and 12,000 horsemen whom he stationed in the chariot cities, and with the king of Jerusalem. So he reigned over all the kings from the river of the land in the Philistines as far as the border of Egypt. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stone, and he made cedar trees as abundant as the sycamores which are in the lowland. And they brought horses to Solomon from Egypt and from all lands. Now the rest of the acts of Solomon, first and last, are they not written in the book of Nathan the prophet, in the prophecy of Ahijah the Shilonite, and in the visions of Iddo the seer concerning Jeroboam the son of Nebat? Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years. Then Solomon rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David with his father. And Rehoboam, his son, reigned in his place. May God bless the reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye.